Hello, everyone. You're tuned into Foundry Live online. Foundry Live is a term-based event where we get creative students and creative industry professionals together in a room to kind of discuss what's happening in the industry. And since COVID, we haven't been actually able to do that, getting people into a room. Who would have thought? So instead, we actually are going to the professionals' homes or their studios and talking to them. So today I have with me Mia Barnett, senior print designer and digital designer from Launceston, Tasmania. Mia's got a wide creative industries kind of background and career, and we're going to get into that in a pretty deep way. So, hi Mia, how are you?
Hey, how you going, everyone? It's nice to be here.
It's good to have you. So, first things first, I don't think I've ever asked this question of you. Why design? How did you get into it in the first place?
Good question. I guess when I was at college, it was one of those typical situations where I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to get a career, and I was really good at art. So I, did all the art courses, and then I thought, well, am I going to really be the next Van Gogh? Probably not. So I thought maybe I should look at focusing my creative side into something that was, for the future. So I chose graphic design at that stage, and it was back when it was quite early stages of the graphic design industry. So at least 20 plus years ago. So it was fairly new. And I wasn't very good at computers, but I thought I'd give it a go and just see where that led.
Yeah, it's such a common story. Definitely, I hear what you're saying about, I guess I was really interested in art, always been told I was quite good at art, but then there's also that kind of thing that, there's so many artists out there and so few make it, where design felt like a place where I guess you could use all that creativity, but it had a much more sort of, I guess, stable commercial kind of backing.
Yeah, definitely. It was more about trying to choose a career that I could work in as computers and technology developed, and I think I've made the right choice. I'm still in the same sort of industry today.
You're still going 20 years later. I mean, how much have you seen, I guess, design change over that time as well, that you've been in the kind of industry?
Well, massively. So I guess back in the day when I started learning about graphic design and the design industry, I didn't know a lot about design thinking. I didn't learn much about presenting or even interacting with clients in the business sense. So it's changed a lot to be more focused on business and how to promote businesses and create a design and identity for them and promote them.
Why do you think that is? Why is there that need to kind of understand business in a deeper way?
I feel it's definitely because once you understand what you're selling, it has a better idea to the design and creative process you go through to pick up the elements that you need to, create that visual identity for a customer or a client.
Yeah, that's brilliant. The other thing that I really noticed from your career is design seems to have taken you to lots of different places. Like, it seems to be that you've worked like the whole east coast of Australia. How did that come about, and what did that experience give you?
For me, I guess I've always been a bit of an explorer. I've wanted to travel the world. It wasn't that I didn't like the companies or anything I worked for. I just wanted to grow as a designer. So I went from, I guess, print and digital design through magazines, newspaper advertising, marketing. I even moved into broadcast design. So at the time, back then when the internet wasn't available like it is today, or to have this kind of work environment online, the only option I had was to move. So I moved to the Gold Coast, I moved to Cairns, I travelled the world. And throughout those different journeys, I was able to, have the experience in big and small businesses, in lots of different design agencies and lots of different roles.
I want to talk about those roles because you've had everything. You mentioned broadcast design. I even have seen that you've done some tattoo art and all that kind of stuff. Like, what did you learn, I guess, in your training as a designer? What came across to you that you could do all these different things, but still kind of, I guess, still work in design?
I guess for me, the concept that I could be a graphic designer in multiple different roles across lots of different industries and companies that was exciting. However, I guess what I took out of my learning was how to create something that represented a business and an identity. And it was really about solving problems for the customers and the businesses. And that's not probably what I learned initially in my early years, but it was definitely something I learned through experience, through all these different roles and jobs I worked in.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. That idea of the design process, and once you understand the design process, there's kind of nothing you can't apply it to.
No, that's right. And it's so relevant today. It doesn't matter what if you're going to go out starting your own business or you're promoting another business. It all comes back to the same process, figuring out what it is that people need and want, and then as a creative person, working out how to visually represent that in the most efficient and effective way.
I obviously know you because, the last couple of years you've also been a mainstay at Foundry as a teacher. I'm interested, what drew you to teaching?
Well, to be honest, I've always naturally loved to help people and share my experiences. It's just a passion of mine. And I guess over the years in different realms, I've done workshops or been part of community arts groups. I've ran my own events, and it's all about, I guess, passing on that knowledge and seeing someone grow. So seeing them go through that experience and come out the other side with something they're proud of and something they can move forward in. It's also all about community. So having the connection with people and bringing that creativity back, not only in a professional creative environment, but on a personal level. So having, on your weekends, you're catching up to do a mural painting or joining a random exhibition about Johnny Cash's cover songs, for example. It's definitely something that has always been part of my life, whether it's a work or a personal sort of venture.
So this role that you're about to start is more of a mentor role. So can you describe to me, I guess, the difference between teaching and a mentor role, both in this course, but also in the industry, I guess, as well?
Yeah, sure. I will start with my role in Foundry as a learning mentor. Basically, I'm there to help. I'm there to start you off, strategize, work out how you learn, how it's going to be best for you to start your course, learn about what creative avenue you want to go down, whether that's photography, graphic design, interior design, web print, all the different creative things we have in the wild, and just figure it out, rather than spending a couple of years or, a massive lump sum on a big uni degree. You can try and figure out and cut out those things right up front and go, oh, yeah, I much prefer interior design. So starting with the concept of, helping you find out what you want, and then, planning a journey and helping you keep accountable. So sometimes it's easier when you have somebody to help you keep accountable for things like I'm terrible at going to the gym.
Whip along.
Yeah, I need a partner to keep me accountable, or a personal trainer. And that's my role. It's to be a friend. It's to be there and listen and really just understand what you need and how you learn.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it, actually. Can't wait.
This sort of course is something that I always wish that I'd had. I didn't even realize there was, half the things that we do in design. I thought there was advertising, and I thought some people made logos, and maybe that was just the advertisers making logos on the side. I didn't really understand this whole other side. And it's only when you get into it, you kind of really understand how broad it is and how many different other areas it touches as well. So yeah, that's a real personal, I guess, dream of mine, to give a course that can give someone a really good, solid understanding of the many different facets of the creative industries.
Yeah, well, just on that, I guess for me, going through all of the different jobs that I've had over the years, they have been varied, even though they've all been somewhat graphic design. I even went into makeup artistry at one point, and ended up being employed as a graphic designer / makeup artist / directing photo shoots for hotel chains on the Gold Coast. So there's definitely paths that lead from design in all of these areas. And it's about figuring out what you definitely don't like. So then you can go, oh, I want to learn more about that. and then delving into that and learning more about the programs, and then learning more about what it's like in the actual industry, not just online, not just on your computer. And that's what I really want to get across to any student that wants to learn is learning's one thing, but what is it like in the industry? Let's work that out as well and see if that's the kind of thing for you. I didn't expect to start with that. Graphic design would be me sitting down. I was very active. I probably would have saw myself more as a outdoors kind of job person. And so when I first started graphic design, sitting all day, every day, I was like, wow, what did I do? But at the same time, it's all part of the job, and the creative side of it definitely outweighed the fact that, the little things like having to file things and be organised and, every job comes with things that you don't particularly like, but it's working out what you're really passionate about and being able to go down that journey.
Yeah, I love that idea. And there's always so much sort of stress, especially like for people who are finishing school or maybe have gone into a career, and that kind of in the back of their head always, it's like, what am I really supposed to do? And I feel like design is a really great area to be in because it does have so many varied kind of options.
Oh, definitely. Some of the past students I've taught actually in Foundry, it's been a bit of a journey watching them choose what area they want to go into. Some end up deciding and realising they're more into illustration and they want to become illustrators. And others are clearly not into print and design, and they just want to go out and take photos and become a photographer or go into that area. So it's really valuable to be able to figure that out just by 6 months or 12 months, how long you take to do the course. Figure out what you want and what you like the most. Some programs you might find you really love working in. So it comes down to that and getting some real knowledge around it. I wish I had this back 20 years ago when I was studying. Yeah. That would have been amazing.
Do you think you would have done things differently with all the knowledge you have now?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I don't think I would have not travelled the world and explored all these different avenues, but perhaps I might have earlier in my career figured out the things that I preferred doing in design and what sort of jobs that I should be focused on rather than not, because every graphic design job I've had has been completely different. That's sometimes because of the clients and the business, and it's sometimes the roles in itself. So, it's something that you sort of learn as you go.
Yeah, it's definitely happened to me. I feel like I kissed a lot of frogs to kind of find out what I didn't want to do in the design industry. I think for me, I would have definitely I probably headed more towards design strategy. That's where I get really excited about kind of like being at the table at the earliest kind of earliest point, I guess, with a client, which I guess when we graduated, that wasn't happening so much. We were still a little bit brought in to make things look pretty.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I didn't have much knowledge of client interactions back then. And some of my earlier jobs, I didn't have much client interaction anyway. It would be going through either the manager at the time or somebody who was more senior, and I did the work. And sometimes all your job might have been was to lay out and design something. So it's completely changed in that way, and you have to be really, I would say, I don't know if it's the right word, but have a holistic approach to design from the thought process, why you're doing it. Are you doing it for the right reasons? Are you solving the right problems, not just what the client wants, thinking outside the square? And when it comes to your elements of creativity, are you being efficient in how you're doing it to work? And, those sorts of things I never thought of. I just went out and wanted to just be creative. And I guess that's the difference between being a designer and being an artist. So
yeah, exactly. Okay, so talking about this course, who would you recommend this course to?
Oh, well, basically anyone that is pretty keen to explore their creativity. I've met people that young at school, like I was, not sure what to do. This would have been perfect for me straight out of college, or during college. Or I've met people that are in their 40s that are ready to make a change in their career because they never had the opportunity to explore possibilities in the creative realms, or they wouldn't even know where to start. So this is a good place to start. You can learn about different fields and whether or not it's for you, and you can then ask professionals in the field, what their experience is. I mean, this is probably really off track, but at one point through my career, I thought I wanted to change my career entirely. And don't laugh, but I thought I wanted to be a private investigator.
Wow. So, I was not expecting that. That's brilliant.
I know, right? So I thought, okay, well, what do I have to do? So I found a private investigator. I went up and I asked him 20 questions about his role. And after that conversation, I didn't want to be a private investigator anymore. That was just no, it's not for me. So sitting around in the car waiting for this to happen, and then it just wasn't me at all. So I guess part of what I'll help with is figuring out what you're passionate about, because when you figure that out, it's so much easier to figure out what job and field you want to go into.
Yeah, that's perfectly said. And it's an evolving thing as well. Like I found that my passions have changed and matured over time, similar to probably how you find, but it's finding that thread early on that you think, okay, this is a thread that I can keep pulling and just kind of see where it leads. And if you find that thread, then it makes it so much easier for you.
Yeah. And I guess, if you're not sure, if you're really not sure, it's all about exploring it. And that's the fun part. I'm more than happy to go off and give you some other, projects outside of what you're learning, just to figure that out, creative projects. I've done a lot of traveling. So when I was overseas, I was working as a digital nomad. And at that time, my graphic design role was managing a team and sort of communications and design. So that took it to a different level. But what I actually was able to do during that time was join other people from around the world who had experience either at Walt Disney or Google or Amazon. And we came together and were able to create our own startups. I also went away to, I think it was Malaysia in Penang, and we did a creative weekend away where everybody brought different creative things together and just really inspired each other. And those kind of things just excite me. It doesn't matter where you are in Australia or overseas. There is a way to connect and a way to grow your creativity. And that's something I'd like to help people with as well. Any questions, I'm an open book and I'm happy to listen to.
Yeah, that's great. Final question. What were you like as a student?
Well, probably from young, I guess my younger years, I was quite a shy student, and I was very studious. So I worked really hard at school, right through to about college. I then ended up, trying everything. I tried everything that was in the creative fields. I was more into that than, maths and science and everything else. So I worked really hard. I'd work after hours. I think what helped me was I was very passionate about wanting to do anything creative. So I would find the local community arts group and go and join it and find out what they were doing. And all these little things added up. By the time I finished my study, they would sort of ask me to do, can you design this or can you design that? Yeah. And I guess at a young age, that was incredible. I've always been quite entrepreneurial, I guess. So I didn't know what that was back in the day, but I'd be involved in things like connecting with dance groups where I'd create animations from their performances to be viewed on screen, and then photos that I took from that performance and turned them into art that was then sold at a traveling art exhibition. So those sorts of things that you do outside of your perhaps chosen career can be so rewarding and even guide you into more of the career you want to go to. And the people in the networks you meet, that's what's most important. There's no point in sitting behind a computer, having one-on-one screen time if you're not going to go out into the world and be part of that creative community, or create it yourself. That's the exciting part of it.
That's great. All right. I always like to finish interviews off with a couple of either or questions.
Okay.
So you have to give me one or the other. So I'll hit you with a really hard one at the start.
Right.
Corn or peas?
That is a tough one. Corn.
Yep.
Corn all the way. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Madonna or Lady Gaga?
Lady Gaga. Oh, I love Madonna. Lady Gaga.
Okay. Beach or mountains?
Beach all the way.
Okay.
I've lived on all the east coast of Australia pretty much.
Yeah. Art festival or music festival?
Can it be both? I went to the combination overseas. It was awesome. Yep. Oh, art or music festival? Music. I'm in love with music. Yep.
Wrestler or football player?
Wrestler.
I love it that you didn't even pause.
No, even though I was a football umpire when I was a kid.
Oh, were you?
Yep.
Brilliant.
And now I play roller derby. It's more like wrestling on skates than playing football. So pretty keen.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for giving us some time. It goes so quick, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, absolutely. But thank you for having me. And I'm really excited. And I hope that I can bring some inspiration to anybody who wants to learn about the creative fields.
I'm absolutely positive you will. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. See ya.